Watching TV has changed over time. Streaming has become the new norm. That's why Golden State Media Concepts television podcast dives headfirst to the world of cord cutting. Want to be on the loop of what's hot in Netflix? Or if it's not a preference, what about original shows in Hulu? We've got you covered. Join us as we fill in the blanks and talk about movies to stream and what show you should be binging. This is the Golden State Media Concepts television podcast.
Greetings, people of Earth and the known universe. You're listening to Golden State Media Concepts television podcast. This is your Captain Keith, and on deck we will talk about the new TV series Jongo, which airs on Amazon Prime, the reboot to Lost in Space from Netflix, and Timeless, and their most recent episode called The Day Reagan Was Shot. So we've got some goodies for you today, definitely. So first and foremost, let's talk about Jongo. That's Jongo. That's a TV series. It's a science fiction TV series that's filmed out of South Africa. I stumbled upon that on my Amazon Prime account. That's pretty cool. So let me give you the summary of the TV show. So at the site of his father's murder, Eli King discovers a mysterious crystal which imbues him with an array of special powers. As he tries to deal with the death of his father and find the men responsible, Eli must also grapple with the powers of the crystal and how it will incredibly alter the course of his life. What Eli doesn't know is that the men who was hunting him have crystals of their own and need Eli's stone to fulfill an ancient and devastating prophecy which will threaten the lives of millions. And caught up in the middle of everything is Eli's best friend, Kay, and the love of his life, Maya. So that's a good description of or synopsis of how the plot of the show. So yeah, Eli King is this guy, nice guy, has a girlfriend he's been living with for a little while. He's a dance teacher, dance instructor, and he has dreams of, he teaches the kids how to do street dance and hip hop and stuff of that stuff of that nature. He has dreams of expanding his dance teaching practice, or business, bigger space and to be able to teach more kids. So basically, he hasn't seen his father in a little bit, but they're definitely close. He's got a great living girlfriend who definitely wants to get married, but Eli is kind of dragging his feet on that. And basically what happens is that there's a scene in the first episode where this woman is driving her car at nighttime and she hits this elderly African man. And she's shocked. She's like, oh my God, did I kill this guy? And he gets up from being hit and he's got this blue stone in his hand and his eyes are blue. He looks at the lady as he staggers up to the hood and he just runs off while looking over his shoulder. So she got the feeling that he was being chased by someone. So she drives to the police station, let them know she didn't want to be a hit and run driver. She's concerned because no one gets hit from a car head on, stands up and just runs off. Usually they're going to swear at you, yell at you, curse at you, or, cringe over like I'm in pain. That didn't happen to her. So of course, playing the Good Samaritan, this lady, she goes to the police and tells them what happened. And the police officer takes interest. He's like, okay, well, if we see anything, we'll let you know if we hear anything. So, because she describes the guy and, it just sounds kind of unbelievable because this doesn't really happen. So they're not going to arrest this lady because there's no proof that she hit this guy because he's gone. There's no hospital reports of anybody been hit by a car recently, getting treated in the hospital. So that's the end of that, or so we think. There's also another person, the antagonist to Eli King, and his name is Benjamin Abaddon, played by Barthel Van Tonder. Eli King is played by, who's the main character? I want to make sure I say his name right. Paku Mutombo plays Eli King. So Benjamin Abaddon is this rich, wealthy man who wants for nothing. You find out that he's missing something, and he's looking for the stone. So basically what happens is Eli is finished teaching his dance students, goes home, sees his girlfriend, and they talk and flirt, and she basically lets him know that, hey, definitely want to get married. And like I said, Eli's dragging his feet. So not sure where that's going to go. The next day, in the next scene, basically for this show, is Eli getting a call that his father has passed, and he was found dead. By the mines that he was working in. Eli finds out that his father was working and didn't tell him. So Eli didn't know that his dad, may have needed some money. That's why he started to work, and he didn't want his son to know about it. So basically what happens, Eli gets the phone call. Your dad is dead. Eli identifies his father's body. He's upset, of course. His girlfriend's there for him. He tells his best friend Kay about it. He's upset too. And it was interesting because the night before, Eli's girlfriend's like, hey, we should have your dad over for dinner. And Eli's like, yeah, it'd be a good idea. So, and there's a picture of his dad with his fists up and a Muhammad Ali t-shirt on, like he's about to box. So that's pretty cool. And Eli's very sad about all of this. So what happens is that once he identifies his father's body, he takes a walk to the cemetery. And you find out later that when you see him initially when he's walking, he walks over and there's this blue stone next to this grave. And you find out, so I'm thinking this is his father's grave, but I'm finding out that this is actually where Eli's mom is buried. So Eli sees this blue stone. He's curious. He picks it up, puts it in his hand. His eyes start to glow, and then he goes home with it. Doesn't tell anybody he has the stone. Now, Benjamin Abaddon, who's basically the bad guy, he's looking for the stone. He's got to figure out who stole my stone. I mean, we're putting two and two together, and we've realized that Eli's father is the one who stole the stone. Or did he? Did he steal the stone, or did he liberate it? Eli's father was working in the mines, and he came across the stone. That's how he got it. So Benjamin Abaddon can't figure out who did this. So he's sending people out to try to figure out, feelers out, so he can get his stone back. And you find out that, Benjamin Abaddon, his eyes glow red. He has a red stone, and the stone that he has gives him power to read people's minds and move objects with his mind, telekinesis. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool indeed. So yeah, with Jongo, there's a lot of things going on. So basically, Eli, like I said, he goes to this grave. You think originally that it's his dad's grave, but it's not. But he sees the blue stone. You find out later on in the season, it was his mom's grave. So of course, he's going to bury his father next to his mom. So it looks like his father left that blue stone for him. His father didn't get a chance to talk to him and say goodbye before he got killed, but he left the blue stone for him. So like I said, Eli has the stone, he takes it home, doesn't say anything to anybody yet. And basically, different little things start happening to him. One day he's walking the streets, just thinking about his father. And by the way, Eli does believe that his father was murdered. And he goes to police and tells them, and there's there's something that we can do about it right now. We don't have any suspects, but we'll look into it. So, as I said before, there's a scene where Eli's just walking the streets at night thinking about his father, and a car, he doesn't see this car coming. The car just speeds on, and by the time Eli sees the car, he just jumps up, and he jumps up so high, and he misses the car. I mean, the car misses him because he jumps up, and he leaps, and that's because the stone allowed him to do it. So basically what's happening now is that stone gives Eli powers. His eyes glow blue, and because at the end of the first episode, you see Eli get the blue stone, and like I said, he's walking around with it. He jumps up over, out of the car's way so the car doesn't hit him. He freaks out because he's like, "Wow, that just happened." He doesn't say anything to anybody. But the end of that episode is Eli going back to where he's going to bury his father, the gravesite. I guess where the hollow grave is, where his dad's supposed to be. And he looks down at the ground and into the camera, and he says, basically, "Rest in peace, Dad. I'm going to find, Pop, I'm going to find out who killed you. I will find out and put them, give them, and put them to justice." Now I'm paraphrasing, and he throws the dirt over it, and that's the end of the episode. But as he does that, his eyes are glowing blue. So now, mind you, like I said, Benjamin Abaddon, who's the antagonist, who's the rich billionaire antagonist, his eyes glow red. So the next episode we get is a flashback of basically either a few months earlier or 3 days earlier. I can't remember, but Benjamin Abaddon gets summoned to this mansion, and when he gets there, you see there's this old man in a wheelchair, excuse me, who's sickly and coughing, waiting for him. That's Richard Abaddon, his father, and he's like, "Oh, you showed up." He goes, "I need to speak with you." And Benjamin's like, "Hey." He goes, his father's like, "You're late." He goes, "Oh, well, I had things I had to do." He goes, "You're always making excuses." He goes, "If this is about your money, I don't need it." He goes, "This isn't about money," his father says. So Benjamin's basically saying, "I don't need your money. I'm doing my own thing." He's like, "This ain't about that." So he has Benjamin sit down across from him, and there's a chess set there. And his father's like, "Yeah, I need to tell you some things." He goes, that mine that you own, the mine that we own, that cave, that's, we procured this a long time ago. And he's like, the way we did is not, don't worry about how we did it. We just did. So when his father, Richard Abaddon, says that, that's basically saying, we acquired this cave, this mining cave in a shady way. That's what he's basically saying when he says, "Don't worry how we did it, but the family owns it." He goes, "There's all kinds of stones and minerals in there." His father shows him this red stone that's in his hand. He said, "This stone," he goes, "it allows me to do things." He goes, "It allows me to read people's minds. It gives me a certain power." And, of course, Benjamin's like, the old man's on one. Why is he talking to me about this? So to show an example, Richard's father takes the stone and puts it, he has it in his hand, and he starts moving a chess piece with his mind, and Benjamin sees him do it. He's like, "Whoa, okay." And then, his father, Richard, calls in one of his security guards, and he tells the guy, or he says to him, "What if he stole from me?" While he's got the stone in his hand. And the guy just starts speaking the truth. "Well, stole a diamond, stole this, stole a watch." And he goes, "What do you think I should do with you?" He goes, "I should kill myself." So then the guy takes out his gun, puts a silencer on it, and shoots himself in the chin. Kills himself. Shoots himself through his chin. So now, mind you, Benjamin's looking at this like, what the heck just happened? My old man's on, what's he doing? He just watched a man get killed right in front of him. He puts the stone, so then Richard puts the stone in his son's hand. He goes, "Here, feel it." He goes, and then the stone was red. It went clear when it went into Benjamin's hand. And Richard says to him, his father, "See how the stone won't work for you? That's because it's connected and tied to me. But be patient. When I die, it will be your power." So then Benjamin leaves. He goes into his limousine. And as he sits down in his limousine, his father passes out and dies. Now Benjamin had, now Richard gave him the stone though. So Benjamin's, in the limousine with the stone, and he says this phrase, this saying, I forget what he said, but to summarize it, he said, "Long live the king." And as he's saying that, the red stone glows, and that's when Benjamin realizes that his father just passed away and died as he was coming down to his car, as Benjamin was getting into his car. So now the power has transferred over to Benjamin. So that's the backstory on how Benjamin has the stone. So now Benjamin feels like, Eli's father, he doesn't know the connection who Eli is yet. He doesn't know that Eli has the stone, but he knows this older black man had the stone and he needs to get it back. So basically what happens is that Benjamin has an assassin name. I forget his name, but he's oh man. What is that guy's name? Well, we'll be talking more about this series throughout the different podcasts, because I'm like maybe halfway through it. But Benjamin has an assassin who also has a stone that makes him invisible. So, so we know of 3 stones. And I don't know what color his stone is, but we know Benjamin's is red and then Eli's is blue. We find out, I'm to the point now where Eli finds out that he's got super strength to be able to leap like Superman, but he also, he can, and he has super speed as well, as long as he's carrying the stone. So those are 2 things that he can do. He can lift things. He can jump real high. I mean, he can jump skyscraper high. He can jump from skyscraper to skyscraper with that stone in his pocket. And he's got super speed. Like he can go like 278 miles an hour or kilometers. So it's really interesting to see how all this is going to play out between Benjamin, this shrewd businessman, and Eli, this humble dance teacher who likes working with children and teaching them how to dance, and, keeping them off the streets and just keeping them focused, doing what he loves. And the connection between the stones and his father's murder, and how, his father meant for him to have the stone. And what's going to happen? I mean, Benjamin has a sister, her older sister, who's very protective of him, and she's crazy and psychotic. So she falls into, she has a part to play within this TV series. Eli's best friend, Kay, is very computer savvy, and he's this rich trust fund kid who wants to become like his sidekick. He has a part to play in it. And then there's Eli's girlfriend, who's very trusting and loving, wants to know why he's been acting strange lately, what's going on. And this TV series on Amazon Prime is really cool. Like I said, it's filmed out of South Africa. I had no idea that this thing was going on since 2016. I'm digging it. And I like seeing the scenery. And it's like 20 minutes to 30 minutes long each episode. But I will have finished this series by next week. So I'll tell you some more about this series in the next podcast, but it's on Amazon Prime. It's streaming. It's cool. And like I said before in our podcast, what I like about all this is that, now we get to see TV shows that we may have never ever gotten a chance to see before, from a different country. So I like that. It's just cool, to see different TV shows and science fiction shows from different countries and see how they do things, how they portray things. The mysticism with the stone and the prophecy that the stones are all involved in. What happens when you get all 3 stones and combine them together? We'll find out. But yeah, that's called Jongo, and that's Jongo. And like I said, you can watch that on Amazon Prime. The main stars are Paku Matumbo, Eli King, and Barto Von Tonder, Benjamin Abadan, and some other people. So we'll get more into that probably next week. But we have some more to talk about in television after this break.
Want to know the latest and hottest music hitting the airwaves? Don't be left out. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Music Podcast. Keith keeps you on the loop with everything you need to know from pop, rock, hip-hop, and the top 40. And we'll throw in news of your favorite artists, concert and tour dates, and so much more. Listen no further, because this is the gold standard in music podcast.
And hello, people. Once again, you're listening to Golden State Media Concepts television podcast. This is your Captain Keith, and we just finished talking about Jongo, a new TV series that is on Amazon Prime. So if you have Amazon Prime, you can check it out. It's really cool. Superhero sci-fi type of thing with mystical stuff going on. Now I want to talk about Timeless, one of my favorite new TV shows on NBC. I spoke about it briefly. This is an episode I just saw, and I want to talk about it. It's called The Day Reagan Was Shot. It's directed by Alex Kalaminos, or Cali. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. I might be saying it wrong. Sorry. The writers on this were Lauren Greer, Eric Kripke, who created the TV series. He was also a creator for Supernatural on the CW. Erika Lisanne, Mittman, and Sean Ryan. So they all wrote this episode. But so Abigail Spencer stars as Lucy Preston. Matt Lanter is Wyatt Logan. Abigail is the historian. Abigail Spencer, who plays Lucy Preston. Lucy's the historian. Wyatt Logan, who's Matt Lanter, he's the soldier. And Malcolm Barrett, who's Rufus Cartland, is the scientist engineer. And they always travel together. Paterson Joseph plays Connor Mason, who's Rufus's mentor and millionaire, tech genius. Sakina Jaffrey plays Denise Christopher, and we're going to talk about her. And Claudia Dumit plays Jaya. And Goran Visnik plays Garcia Flynn, who was the bad guy of the first season, who's now one of the good guys of the new season. I love that twist. So, getting back to this episode, The Day Reagan Was Shot. So the Time team travels back to 1981, Washington, D.C. on the day President Reagan was shot, only to discover that the sleeper's target isn't the president, but a young rookie police officer, none other than Agent Christopher. So Denise Christopher is the boss of the time travel team. She's the one who recruited everybody and got them together. So she's like the heart. I mean, in some ways, she's the heart of the show. So you get to find out some things about her that I didn't know. Like, for example, looking at her, I did not know where her background was, her ethnic background was. Watching this episode, you find out that she's of Indian descent from India, and it's really cool. So in this episode, when they go back in time and they figure out, okay, wait a minute, because you see John Hinckley shoot at the president, but he doesn't get arrested at that point like he was supposed to, like in real life. But as he's shooting, you see a sleeper agent try to shoot at Agent Christopher, who's a police officer on the scene. She's a rookie cop, young rookie cop. So Wyatt saves her and doesn't recognize her at first and sees her name badge and she's like, well, thank you for saving me. He goes, not a problem, Officer Christopher. So he's like, so Wyatt's the one who figures out, wait a minute, we're not here for President Reagan. We're here to save her. They're trying to kill her. So the episode is great. I really enjoyed it. It was a pleasant surprise. I like this TV series for a number of reasons. I like all these. When it first came out, I'm like, oh, here we go. It's going to be a typical bullcrap time travel series. It's not going to be any good. I was wrong. This show was great. I love the brutal honesty that it shows of American history and how we change things. And I love it. Like, you'll see in the earlier episodes of Timeless how they'll change something in history, and then when they get back, they're all kind of nervous. Or they'll change something in history, but they're only slightly changing it. They're still sticking to the core of what the history was usually, but they're still kind of nervous to see if it worked. So they get back, and then the people who who send them off, when they get back, they ask them, well, so who's the president? Did JFK get assassinated? It goes, oh yeah, he got assassinated in what was it? Austin, Texas, not Dallas. So then they're all bummed out because they're like, oh, okay, so I guess he really was meant to die. I mean, that's just an example, but it's really cool to see what happens when they come back, because they're curious to see how, if the timeline was still intact or what happened. You find out in the first season that Lucy's half sister, who she loved, is has been wiped out of the timeline. And even the mother didn't remember. But, when Lucy says something to her, she realizes, okay, I had another daughter. But she has no desire to get that other daughter back. So, but Lucy found all that out when she found out that the man who she thought was her father was not her father. So her half sister, she grew up thinking was her, full sister. I hate even using that term. But she found out that this guy who was a key figure in Rittenhouse is actually her real father. And then I mentioned this in the podcast before, that when she talks to her mom about Rittenhouse, thinking her mom has no idea, her mom is like, I'm a Rittenhouse OG, basically. But so getting back to this new episode, Wyatt figures out when they had to save, Agent Christopher, that they're trying to kill her and that she's the key to all of this, that, if they kill her, she never finds the organization and the group that stops Rittenhouse. So, in this episode, Jaya, Rufus's girlfriend, she goes on this mission. Now, at the beginning of the episode, Rufus is kind of upset because Jaya basically tells him, I have visions of the future, and it's all, and you're always involved, and I see your death. So if you're dating this, this woman who you love, and she tells you, hey, I have ESP, and I know when you're going to die, it's kind of a mood killer. All right, so you understand why, Malcolm Barrett's character, Rufus Carlin, is basically like, yeah, I'm kind of standoffish right now. Don't really, he's been avoiding her, and she notices, and she's like, you're avoiding me. He's like, oh no, I'm not, but you are. And she calls him out on it. But Rufus has to break down and basically tell Wyatt and Lucy, who are his time traveling partners, what's going on. And they're like, well, we'll do whatever we can to stop it. Her visions aren't always true. He's like, yes, they are. And basically, by towards the middle of the episode, Lucy and Wyatt are like, look, man, we'll find a way to stop it. We don't give up. So, we're going to save you. And and Rufus is like, well, if I'm meant to die, I'm meant to die, because, Jaya painted the picture of how he's going to die, and Rufus knew it wasn't going to be in 1981. So what happens, they catch the sleeper agent who tried to kill Agent Christopher. Lucy and Jaya pretend to be Cagney and Lacey, private investigators, when they meet Denise Christopher, the young version, in a hospital, because, she got scraped. It's cute how they pretend to be Cagney and Lacey, and they're like, oh, we're private investigators. We want to make sure that you're okay. And, they want to make sure, that she stays on track. Agent Christopher's, mom comes in and she hovers over her and she's like, oh, you could have been killed. She's all upset. And, she's like, the family's all here. And she's like, so of course, we're, we're the only Indians in DC. It's 1981. So she's like, of course they all know each other. So they all come in and they're all, hovering over her, and we want to make sure that she's okay. It's nice to see this close-knit community and close-knit culture. They all hover around her. So, Jaya and Lucy leave the hospital room and they're watching, and then everyone walks out, and then the mother's like, oh, it's official. And then Agent Christopher walks out with this young Indian man, and she's like, yo, we're going to get married. And then, Lucy and Jaya look at each other. They're like, this can't happen, because Agent Christopher in the future is married to a lady and they have 2 kids. So now when I saw that, I'm like, well, I was thinking to myself, well, maybe when she marries this guy, she has a child with him and then gets divorced, and but that wasn't the case. Lucy's like, this can't happen. If this happens, she won't have her wife and children in the future. So I'm like, oh, okay. So Denise Christopher, the young Agent Christopher, is talking to her, and she's like, well, she's talking to Lucy. Lucy's like, so you're going to get married? He goes, yeah, it's been arranged. He's a nice guy. And she's like, well, are you sure you want to do this? She goes, well, this is a tradition in my family. It's been going on for 1,000 years. She goes, American divorce rates are 50-50. That's not the case in our culture. And she's like, well, are you still going to be a police officer? And she goes, no, I'll have to stay at home. Mind you, folks, this is 1981. This is all going on. So it seems like a whole lifetime ago. And it is and it isn't. But it's just amazing that these type of things were happening, that women would have to give up their careers because they got married. That's crazy. But yeah, but as any human civilization, we all have to grow and learn different things and new things. We'll talk some more about Timeless after this break.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Hey, welcome back, folks. Once again, you're listening to Golden State Media Concepts Television Podcast. I'm your captain, Keith. And we're talking about Timeless, the TV series, and the newest episode, the most recent one, the day Reagan was shot. So there's some more things for me to tell you about this episode. So previously within the series, Agent Christopher gave Lucy a thumb drive, and she told Lucy, give this to me if in case my family gets wiped away from me. From you guys going back in time. There's always a fear now with these main characters that when they go back in time and change things, that when they come back, people they may love may disappear. Like what happened to Lucy, she lost her sister. That's gotta be scary. I mean, really. So Lucy took the thumb drive and she's like, okay, I'll keep it. So I'm glad that I remember that. And then it showed that, before the new episode started, which lets you know that was going to be a key to this new episode. So, as we stated before, Lucy and Jaya play Cagney, pretend to be Cagney and Lacey, which is really cute. So they're talking to Agent Christopher, and she's like, "Yeah, once I marry this guy, Sunil, I think his name was, I have to stay at home. I can't be a police officer anymore." So Lucy basically says to Agent Christopher, sometimes, you might meet the wrong guy, or sometimes you might meet the wrong, maybe you're not meant to be with the guy. So Lucy implied that she basically implied that, hey, maybe you should be with a woman. And then Agent Christopher stated that she experimented in college. And Lucy said, well, and when Lucy said that to her, that you might need, maybe you should be with a woman, Agent Christopher thinks that Lucy's hitting on her, and she's like, well, I think you're an attractive woman, but you're not my type. And Lucy's like, no, I didn't mean that. And then Jaya says, oh no, we're a couple. So it was just kind of a cute, awkward moment between the two of them when they were doing that. So Lucy basically just tries to get Agent Christopher not to go through with this traditional Indian marriage. So, and you can see that Agent Christopher is kind of fighting with herself a little bit. So, in that regard, because she wants to, she doesn't want to alienate her mom, because if she tells her mom that she's gay or that she has feelings for a woman, 1981, that's basically you're probably going to get shunned from your family. Now, Agent Christopher did say that one of my cousins, she said, my cousin married a white man and my family hasn't spoken to her in 7 years. And I was like, wow. So, you're getting a glimpse inside, someone's culture, and it's a different time period too. So, it's the past, it's not 2018. And you're getting reminded that, things have changed in, this future in 2018, which is good. And you find out that, these type of things happen, and how do you deal with it? How do you get people who are set in their ways to open their mind about things? So this episode was powerful for a lot of different reasons. It focused. What I liked about the episode is that it focused on how important this one lady is to this team. She's the boss, And she's great on the show. She really is. So now, you also see earlier in the episode that she's spending time with her wife and her 2 kids. She has a son, an older son, and a daughter. And, she was late getting into their bunker / office. And like, oh, I'm spending time with my family, because they see her so much, they forget, oh yeah, she does have a family outside of work. So, and that was good to see. So what winds up happening is Wyatt and Rufus catch, like I said, they catch the sleeper agent who tried to kill Christopher. They tie him up. Wyatt starts beating up on him, of course, because he wants to get answers. And, Wyatt's ready to kill the guy because he's in Rittenhouse. And Rufus is like, don't do all that. You're doing too much. We need to get information from him. And the guy's like, hey, I'll tell you what you want. Just don't kill me. So he basically tells him that he was, put there in the past to be a sleeper. And basically, he said his brother recruited him into Rittenhouse, and that if he doesn't do what they want, they might kill his family. So he's afraid of Rittenhouse. So, and, he basically tells Wyatt and Rufus a lot. But then they feel like they're still, they're not sure that whether or not they should trust him or if he's just trying to, blow a smoke screen at them. They're not sure. So basically what happens is that, through Wyatt, still interrogating this guy, the sleeper agent, he finds out because Wyatt's about to choke him to death. And Rufus is like, don't do this. We never had a sleeper agent before. We can bring him back to the bunker. And he's like, then the sleeper agent's like, no, man, I'm better off dead. Just kill me. And he's like, but hold on. He goes, my brother. He goes, Rittenhouse brainwashed him. He's the one. He gave me the gun. Since the job didn't get done, he's going to go after her still. You got to stop him. And Wyatt was furious that he didn't tell them that earlier. But he's like, well, but he did. So Wyatt's on the move now to try to find this guy and stop him before he kills Agent Christopher. Because if he kills Agent Christopher, it's like that could erase all of them from the timeline. So, and like I said, Sakina Jaffrey, the present Agent Christopher, great in this role, really good. So, what happens? That's one scene that goes on. Wyatt has to, chase this guy down and make sure he prevents him from killing Agent Christopher, or the young police cadet Christopher. So now Lucy and Jaya are still trying to convince, the young Agent Christopher not to get married to this guy. And she blows them off. She's like, thank you for your concern, but stay out of it. I'm going to go through with this. I don't want to lose my mom. And when she's talking, I'll talk about that scene in 1 second. So, okay, so that happens. Now back during, back at the bunker in present time, Garcia Flynn, like I said, who used to be the bad guy, who's now the good guy, goes up to, Agent Christopher. He's like, aren't you worried about this? Because, she told them they went back in time to try to kill me. She figured it out because she knew what date it was. So we had no idea how important she was and we knew she was important, but we didn't know that she was there the day the president got shot. So that was kind of interesting that, she's connected to history in a major way. And Agent Christopher is just trying to keep calm because, she gave Lucy the thumb drive and she's just trying to keep composed and be kind of stoic. She doesn't want to freak out. She goes, I trust the agents to do their job. And then Flynn's like, look, Rittenhouse killed my family. He goes, there was one day where my daughter just wanted to stay up a little bit longer, just a little bit longer. And I told her she had to go to bed. And the next day she was dead. And he's like, I would give anything in this world to spend 3 more minutes with my child, with my daughter. He goes, I don't need your pity. He goes, but now what are you going to do? Are you going to waste your time sitting here, or are you going to go back home and spend time with your family and cherish every minute you have with them? So Agent Flynn was being a good guy, and he was reminding her what was important. He goes, hey, but what do I know? So she goes back home and then she's going home. There's a scene of, the sleeper agent's brother pulling up to her, the agent's, young Denise's house, getting his gun and trying to get focused on whether to get a good kill shot so he can shoot her while she's at home. because they're having like a wedding party, celebration, pre-celebration for the wedding announcement. And, you see Agent Christopher in real life, in present life, walking towards the house, going towards the house, walking towards her family. So we're like, okay, is her family going to be there when she opens up the house and walks inside, or they're going to be gone? It's very suspenseful, actually. And when Lucy and Jaya realized that they couldn't get through to the young Agent Christopher about not marrying this guy, they decide to tell the truth. The truth. They show up, and when she opens up the door in her traditional Indian dress and garb, I don't know what you call it, but she looks great. Lucy says to her, "Because I'm not hitting on you, but you look amazing." It was a cute little scene. It was real cool. So she goes in the other room. She goes, "Can we talk to you?" So, and then Jaya and Lucy just tell her, "Hey, we're from the future. We're time travelers, and this is what's going on." And she's like, "That sounds crazy." So Lucy pulls out the laptop and the thumb drive that Agent Christopher in the present gave her. And she goes, "This is a computer you've never seen before. This is a laptop." She goes, "You'll see this later. You gave this to me in the future." She puts it on, opens it up, and there's images of Agent Christopher's family from the past and the present. So you see her as a young Agent Christopher, and you see her older, holding her children, and you see her wife, who's an African-American woman. So you see all this going on. You see this beautiful, multicultural family, and so the agents, the young version of Agent Christopher's looking at this, and it's just kind of blown away because she can't believe what she's seeing. She's like, "That's me." She's like, "Yeah, this is you. You told me to give this to you. You gave this to me, and just in case you forgot, you wanted me to have this. So now this is real. This is you." She's like, "You can't marry that man." And then, so Agent Christopher starts, she sits down, she's just thinking about it all, and she's realizing how serious this all is. Now, Jaya and Lucy didn't tell her about Rittenhouse because they didn't want to overload her. She's like, she goes, "You got to work for Homeland Security. You got to get recruited by the FBI. She goes, "You don't know how important you are." She goes, "Don't marry this man." And then Lucy's like, "Why did you ever want to become a police officer?" And Agent Christopher tells this really touching story. She's like, "When I was young and my father came to America, he saved up his money. He bought this Cadillac, and he was so proud of this Cadillac. He bought, he wanted to live the American dream. He bought his Cadillac. He was taking care of us. We went to a gas station to get gas, and this man went in there to rob the gas station, and my father tried to stop him. And she said, my father got killed. He got shot, and he was killed immediately by this man. And she says, I had to wait for someone to come talk to me. And she states that this officer came over, and I had never seen a female officer before. Her name was Christopher. And I asked her, "Why did you want to become a female police officer?" And the lady said, "So I can catch the bad guys." A very moving moment. And that inspired her to be a police officer. And basically the rest is history, because Agent Christopher is an amazing agent, for the government. Very, very honest and straightforward and steadfast. Yeah, real cool. And she always keeps a calm head. She's a great leader of this team. So yeah, that was cool to see her background and her story and why she did that. And also in the episode, because John Hinckley didn't get caught shooting the president like he did in real life, they had to go and find him. So Lucy and Jaya, as Cagney and Lacey, help Agent Christopher find him at the hospital and get him and apprehend him. So that makes her look good, and that's going to help to have the FBI recruit her so she can become a government agent. So, at the end of the episode, basically, Agent Christopher tells her mom, the young police cadet Christopher tells her mom, "I can't marry him." She goes outside on the porch and they're talking, and her mom's really upset and she slaps her. But, young cadet Christopher, she's like, "What do I do now?" to Lucy and Jai. She goes, "How do I know I'm making the right choices?" And Lucy's like, "You're making the right choices. Don't worry. You're going to be just fine. When the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, calls you to recruit you, go work for them." And then Lucy gives her the thumb drive, and then young cadet Christopher says, no. Yeah. She goes, okay. She goes, Lucy gives her the thumb drive, and she says, you won't be able to use it now, but hold on to it. Later on in the future, you'll know what to do with it. When but hold on to it, and everything's going to work out just fine. So now at the end of the episode, you see Agent Christopher going home after listening to Flynn's advice to be with her family, because she, for all she knows, it might be her last time with her family. She goes home, and we're all wondering in the audience if the family's going to be there when she goes in the living room, and they are there. They're playing, they're playing the game. So she's there, she's hanging out with her, her wife and her children, having a nice family moment. And as the sleeper agent's brother, he's ready to shoot and kill young police cadet, back in time in 1981 at the house, Wyatt takes him out, runs him over with a car, takes him out. Real cool. So he helps save the day. They help save her life. They go back. Wyatt and Rufus go back to talk to the sleeper agent, his brother, the other sleeper agent, because they're going to take him back to the bunker, and he hung himself. And and Rufus is upset. He's like, we could have taken him. We could have interrogated him. And Wyatt was like, maybe he was more afraid of Rittenhouse after all. Maybe there was no getting away. So, that sleeper agent hung himself, basically. And after that point, they all go back to the present, and when they open the door, Lucy and Jaya look out, and eventually they see Agent Christopher there, so they smile. And Wyatt comes out first, and Agent Christopher looks at him. She says, I've been waiting 37 years to tell you this, but thank you for saving my life twice. I knew when I saw you that there was something special about you when I recruited you. And he was like, not a problem, ma'am. He goes, just doing my job. And he smiles. And then as he walks away, Cagney and Lacey, Lucy and Jaya come down, and, Lucy gives her a big hug, Agent Christopher, and she says, you have no idea what kind of moment it was when I was able to take this thumb drive and use it and see what was on it. She's like, thank you for saving, thank you for what you did for me. It means so much. And she's like, hey, well, we're glad that everything worked out, and then she's like, well, I'm going to go home now, see my, my family. My mom's cooking. She can be, my mom is, she can be kind of crazy, but she's a great cook. She goes, oh, you're talking with your mom? She goes, yeah. She goes, it's been a rocky road, but we're good. She's, it took a while, but she accepted me. And she goes, and she loves my kids, and she's good to my kids, her grandkids. She loves her grandkids. So it was good. It was very realistic to see that it's not always warm and fuzzy for someone, and that a lot of people who, who have been, who are gay didn't always have it easy when it comes to acceptance with their family. So it was a great episode. It was really cool. I enjoyed it. It was good to see the backstory of Agent Christopher. Very moving. It was just really cool, to see, her path and how important she was, because we had no idea that Rittenhouse was going to try to go after them that route. It was a dastardly clever way to do it, but they failed, and I'm glad that they did. It's a great show. And then, Rufus told his girlfriend, Jaya, hey, I'm sorry I've been avoiding you. He goes, I want to spend all the time I have left with you, no matter what it is. And she said, that's not acceptable. We're going to figure out how to stop this and stop you from dying. He's like, okay, cool. And that's how the show ends. It was a great episode. I really enjoyed it. It was really cool. Timeless. People comes on, I believe on Sundays, every Sunday on NBC. Check it out. It's a great show. Definitely want to get a season 3, because season 2 was good. Season 1 was good. So, and we're going to talk about Lost in Space after this break.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now, don't bother, what's hot on Netflix, and everything in between. That's GSMCpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Hello, once again, you're listening to Golden State Media Concepts television podcast. I'm Captain Keith, and we were talking about Timeless. Great TV series. Check it out. Lost in Space, people. Where do I begin? Yes, Netflix has done it again. So they have done a reboot of Lost in Space, the classic sci-fi series from the 50s and 60s that was in black and white about the Robinson family getting stranded in space with the robot and the evil comedic Dr. Smith. So where do I start? So let me give you the brief synopsis. After crash landing on an alien planet, the Robinson family fight against all odds to survive and escape, but they're surrounded by hidden dangers. That's a good way of saying it. The creators for this version is Irwin Allen, Matt Sazama, and Burke Sharpless. This stars Molly Parker, Toby Stevens, Maxwell Jenkins. Yes. So, and surprise, surprise, people. Parker Posey as Dr. Smith. I kid you not. And our indie film queen actress is back. And boy, does she kill it on this show. She deserves an Emmy for this show. She deserves an Emmy. Yeah, she does. We'll get to that in a minute. So this show was really cool. I where do I start? All right. So yeah, I definitely binge watched and I watched the whole first season, all 10 episodes. Starts off, basically they do flashbacks and present. So of course the whole family's on the ship, on the spaceship, sitting around a table. And then, basically, there's some like, interference. I believe. Oh, so they were on the Resolute. And that was like this big, huge colony that's going to take everyone to Alpha Centauri. Another planet, because the Earth is dying. So a lot of people are looking to go be a part of a new colony on another planet to start over again. But of course, that's kind of like you have to qualify for it. You have to be vetted for it and go through some tests and do some research to be able to be a part of this whole new civilization for people of Earth. To live on Alpha Centauri. Not everyone's going to get a chance to go. How do you benefit the society? So, Maureen Robinson is Molly Parker, and she plays, she has a PhD. She's a doctor of, I believe, she's a physicist. So basically rocket scientist. Toby Stevenson plays her husband, John Robinson, who's a Navy SEAL, who's been away overseas, being deployed. So he hasn't spent that much time with his family, and they have 3 kids. Judy's the oldest. Penny is the middle child, and then Will is the youngest. He's the only boy, Will Robinson. So Judy's played by Taylor Russell. And this kind of threw me off when I saw it, because I'm like, okay, Judy Robinson is African American. All right. And everyone else is not. So that threw me off, but that gets explained later on throughout the season. She winds up, she's like 18 or 19 years old, and she has studied to be a doctor. So she's going to be a doctor on the new colony. Mina Sunwal plays her sister Penny Robinson, redheaded, and very very spunky and free spirited and smart and very. and very sarcastic. And Ignacio Cerricio plays Don West, so that's a new take. And the pilot who was in the original series. So and he's a very smart, very charismatic guy who's always kind of he's also a little sneaky. He's always kind of up to something. Don's a great space pilot and engineer, but he's also kind of like a car salesman in the sense that, or the car salesman that you don't want to go to, who might be trying to sell you a car who is just overpriced. But he has a big heart. So, and Brian Steele plays the voice of the robot, and Maxwell Jenkins is another great star, breakout star. He plays Will Robinson. And when you see him play the 11-year-old Will Robinson, you just want to hug him. He's a good kid, big heart, very creative and very smart, kind of doubts himself and definitely misses spending time with his dad. All of the kids kind of are a little bit resentful of their dad because he hasn't been there for a while. And you find out throughout the show that his marriage to their mom, Maureen Robinson, is kind of disintegrating. And you didn't get that in the original series. The Robinson mother and father were always very loving. It's a very wholesome show. Dr. Smith was the only unwholesome thing about the show. But at the same time, Dr. Smith, I mean, you couldn't wait to see what was this man going to do next. So, but yes, like I said, Parker Posey winds up playing Dr. Smith. And how we get introduced to her. So on the Resolute, like this big, huge colony thing in space, this flying towards Alpha Centauri, it gets attacked. And there's this alien thing, it's on the ship shooting and killing people. So when that's happening, everyone's like, wow, this isn't a drill. We have to evacuate. So everyone starts to leave. And when they leave, like a meteor storm or other alien ships hit the different spaceships. And that's how the Robinsons get, their ship goes down and it winds up on this other planet. So there's a flashback scene of when that happened and when that went down. You see that there's this woman in this white, robed outfit wandering the hallway trying to figure out how she's going to escape because everyone's scared because there's aliens on the floor shooting and killing everybody and they don't know why. And you see this man and he's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I need help. What about my family? And he's been shot and he's sitting down and this woman sees him and she sees his jacket and it says Dr. Z. Smith. So she takes his jacket off and she leaves and goes, what are you doing? She takes his jacket off and she leaves him there sitting on the floor, basically to die. And Don and this other astronaut, they're trying to figure out how they can get on one of those escape pods or ships so they can leave. So this is when you see Parker Posey put that jacket on and this says Dr. Smith, Dr. Z. Smith. So up front, we already know she's not the real Dr. Smith. We already know that now. So, Don West sees her and he's like, hey, is this your ship? And he goes, yeah. She goes, who are you? She goes, I'm Dr. Smith. So she waves the jacket and it opens up so she can go into the ship. Dr. Smith looks at the two of them, or Parker Posey, who's Dr. Smith now, looks at Don and his friend, this other astronaut, looks at both of them and she goes, well, I'm going to need pilots. And like, oh, thank you. So they join her and they leave, on that ship to escape. Now, of course, their ship crashes too. So both ships crash. When the Robinson ships, when their spaceship crashes, it crashes on the side of the planet that has all this ice and snow. And their ship starts to sink to the ground. But before the ship sinks to the ground, the Robinsons are able to get some amenities, some tents and some things so they can, live abroad. So now, live out in the open. Now, when it crashed too, John Robinson's spacesuit had a crack in it. So when Maureen sees that, she takes off her helmet and they're all freaking out like, why are you doing that? We don't know if the atmosphere is safe. She goes, yes, it is. His suit is cut and there's no damage to him. So everyone takes off their helmets and then they realize, okay, well, we got to figure out where we are and what we're going to do and how we're going to get in touch with people. So then the ship sinks down to the water and then they're like, okay, John's like, well, we got to get down there and get it. We have to get some stuff out so we can try to radio for help. And they're like, what we need is stuck in a certain compartment and I'm too big to go get it. Maybe Will can do it. And Maureen's like, no. And he's like, look, he's been through the training. He can do it. And they're arguing about whether or not they want their younger son to go down the water because they know the water's going to freeze. They just don't know what time. when it's going to freeze. So Judy, the older sibling, looks at this, and she looks at Will, and he looks kind of scared and nervous. So she decides that she's going to do it. So she's like, "Don't worry, Squirt, see you later." And she puts the outfit on, and she dives into the water to go down to the ship to get this device that they need. And of course, John and Maureen are mad that she did it, but they're like, "Okay, well, hurry back before so she gets the battery that they need, and like, hurry back. And then the water starts to freeze, and then she goes up to the surface. She gets stuck like maybe 2 feet from the surface, and she's frozen, and she can't move. And, of course she has her helmet on so she can breathe. So now they're freaking out because they're like, "Well, we got to save our girl. She's got like 6 hours of air, but we got to figure out how to, get her out of that, this frozen pond. Otherwise she'll suffocate and die." So that's going on. And then on the other side of the planet, down west, his ship is split in half. He's outside, like in his, it's split in half. He comes to, and Dr. Smith is in one of those chairs, and basically he loses his knife. He drops it, trying to cut himself open so he can get out because he's in the deck. So when Dr. Smith wakes up, he's like, "Do you have a knife?" And she's like, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, whatever you do, don't drop it, 'cause I'll drop mine." He goes, "Throw it to me, and I'll cut it. I'll cut this open, and I'll get you loose too." So she throws it to him. He gets the knife. He cuts himself loose, and he cuts her loose. And they go outside, and they see the other. Well, his colleague, she didn't make it. She's dead. But then they go outside to try to do a survey to see if there's any other survivors. And they see there's one more survivor. And I'm going to tell you more about this TV series in the next podcast. So I'm running out of time, but I just want to keep you on the edge of your seat. But so far, I'm enjoying the series. It's a great reboot. It's different. The cinematography is great. The production value is amazing. I like the storyline. There was only one thing. There was only one episode where there was a situation that I didn't agree with. I thought wasn't written. I thought that they kind of forced the plot with this one scene. But we'll talk about all that next week. Once again, you've been listening to Golden State Media Concepts Television Podcast. I'm Captain Keith, and on deck we were talking about Jongo. It's an Amazon Prime TV series you should check out. It's pretty cool. It's a science fiction show. We talked about Timeless on NBC, another science fiction show. And the new series Lost in Space, which is on Netflix, streaming right now, and it's an excellent show. We'll talk some more about that and how the evil Dr. Smith, played by Parker Posey, just almost steals the show. You really I just hated her because she was so good. But we'll talk some more about this next week. And I promise we'll do some other stuff besides science fiction. So once again, thanks again for listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Television Podcast. Captain Keith, and see you somewhere out in space.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Television Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.